Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, world out there, YouTube. Today I would like to talk about the cause or the root cause of anxiety, stress, finally depression. And the real cause of it is fear. We are always, or actually especially nowadays, living in a fear-mongering society, especially during this pandemic. And still, we have to look at on a different aspect, trying to understand the connectivity between uh, the body, or actually where is it created. So um, chronic activation of the survival mechanism impairs severely health. The limbic system, or cortex, is actually a way to explain it with feeling and reacting brain, because it really starts everything in our brain. I will talk about the amygdala. The amygdala, not many people have heard of it. It's a very small almond-shaped set of neurons located deep in the brain. Is more or less about this height. In Latin, it's called corpus amygdaloidum, and is part of the limbic system. The amygdala is actually, like the mountain, is the first responder. First, I would like to give a definition of the amygdala, and the function of the amygdala. The amygdala is a very important structure, as I said, located in the anterior temporal lobe, more or less here, within the uncus. The amygdala obviously makes several connections within the brain regions, including the thalamus, hypothalamus, septal nuclei, orbital frontal cortex, hippocampus, parahippocampus, gyrus, and brainstem. Olfactory bulb also is the only area that makes inputs to the amygdala and does not receive reciprocal projections from the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for the perception of emotions such as anger, fear, panic, sadness, also sexual behavior, as well as controlling aggression. The amygdala also helps to store memories of events and emotions, so that the individual may be able to recognize similar events in the future. The size of the amygdala is positively correlated with increased aggression and physical behavior. As I said, it also plays a role in sexual activity as well. So, as I said before, it's like a command center. It's the first responder. And the amygdala says, hey guys, we have a situation here. Say we are, for example, driving on a beautiful sunny day in a car, and we got suddenly hit by a car. So an accident happened. The amygdala is the first one that responds. Visual images, is interpreting images and sounds. That means we are in a stressful situation. Obviously, it's trauma. We are in chaos. We don't know what is going on. We don't even can grasp what happened. So this area of the brain obviously is contributing on the processing, emotional processing, and send a distress signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus says, okay, well, I got your information. I will do now my job. So as first responder, or like an emergency doctor, the amygdala sends out the signal to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus obviously starts to do its job. So the amygdala, I have to say, is communicating with the rest of the body through the autonomic nervous system. So that the person has the energy to fly, fight or flee, okay? That is always the first reaction, it's innate, we can't change it. I don't want to go too deep into the autonomic nervous system. I can just say has two components, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. One is where is we see the fight or flight response. So we have enough energy and we can respond when something bad is perceived. Okay. The parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite. It's like a brake in a car. It promotes the rest and digest response to calm the body down after danger has passed. So these changes, they happen so rapidly that people are not aware of it. I mean, in fact, the circuitry is so efficient that the amygdala and the hypothalamus starts discussing even before the brain visual center have had the chance to fully process what's happening. So they really work synergetically, both very deep together. So then obviously the stress response starts. It's called also or known as hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. These are the parts of the body that get obviously affected by it. So the amygdala has sent the stress signal to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus activates the sympathetic nervous system by transferring signals through the autonomic nerve to the adrenal glands, which, by the way, is ruled by Pluto, Mars, and Venus. The amygdala is ruled by Neptune, also because we are so confused we don't even know what is going on. Everything is obfuscated. The brain doesn't work properly. So it's Neptune, okay? So the hypothalamus obviously has sent signals to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal gland responds by pumping hormone. This hormone is called epinephrine, or actually also known as adrenaline. We have noradrenaline and so forth, and it's pumping into the bloodstream. So obviously, as adrenaline circulates through the body, it brings a number of physiological changes that it happens within seconds. So the hypothalamus is ruled, by the way, by Uranus, Moon, and Neptune. Also, the job of the hypothalamus is actually part of the brain that maintains the body internal balance. It's called homeostasis. The hypothalamus is the link between the endocrine system and the nervous system. So it's, the hypothalamus strongly influences many functions, including autonomic, endocrine functions, and behavior. And it's actually in the brainstem and the spinal cord. So much for the hypothalamus and its job. Then the hypothalamus also is involved in certain behavior, particularly emotional reactions, um, obviously with the amygdala. There are 5 major glands of the endocrine system, which obviously includes the hypothalamus. We can call him the CEO of the company if you want to. It comes the pineal glands, who would be like the COO, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid, pancreas, but pancreas is also part of the immune system. It's not only adrenal, and obviously the adrenal glands. These final glands produce a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol is known as the stress hormone. I will touch on it later on, because it's fine to have it, but not too much, because it can cause many dysfunctions in the body. It's even gaining weight. So cortisol is not a really big friend if it reaches a certain extent. So obviously the endocrine system, we have an endocrine and exocrine system, but I don't want to touch on that too much. And we have, in medical science, we have, as I said, the hormone called cortisol, norepinephrine, which are released during periods of high stress. The hormone regulating system is known as the endocrine system. Cortisol is held to affect the metabolic system, and norepinephrine is supposed to play a role in ADHD, as well as depression and hypertension. So the hormones in the body secreted by the adrenal glands, I just will mention a few of them, are, and also the follow. What is it involved? Obviously, it's a proper glucose metabolism, regulation of blood pressure, insulin release for blood sugar maintenance, immune function, and much more. This is especially chronic stress, actually anxiety, fear produces stress. More adrenaline and more cortisol are secreted from the adrenal glands. So the response in health is helpful, obviously, in a temporary situation where we got now the car crash, fine. But when the state, this state is or gets generated repeatedly, say over weeks, months, even years, as a result of many and very often adverse health implications. As a consequence of high static stress level, many ailments can really arise, and some of them are really bad. Also, a nerve that nobody talks about it really, but it's a very important nerve. It's called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve starts approximately at this height. It's the longest nerve in the body, and it's called also the wanderer nerve, because it's actually the 10th cranial nerve that goes from the cranium down into the gut. So through the thorax, behind the aorta, and down to the gut. So the vagus nerve represents, excuse me, the main component of the parasympathetic nervous system, which oversees a vast array of crucial bodily functions, including control of mood, immune response, digestion, heart rate as well. And it makes many other connections between the brain and gastrointestinal tract. What is very important, if we could target more the vagus nerve, it could lead to a greater improvement in the emotional symptoms of patients suffering from depression or anxiety. Finally, the vagus nerve also represents an important link between nutrition, psychiatric, neurological, and inflammatory diseases. I will explain now why. The vagus nerve has a bidirectional function between the brain and the gastrointestinal tract. So the so-called brain-gut axis, okay, based obviously on a complex system, which I don't go in depth, but also the sympathetic nervous system, of course, that control the gastrointestinal homeostasis and connects also emotional and cognitive areas of the brain with gut functions. Fundamentally, the vagus nerve as a bidirectional communicator, as I call it, a communicator with the brain and the GI tract, sends about 10% of the information go down to the GI tract, but 90% goes back, and it does land where? Obviously in the brain. So, say we have bad gut bacteria, gut microbiota. That is very, very bad for the brain, and it can affect the brain function. Perhaps some people know when we say the gut is a second brain, it's because of the vagus nerve. Because the interconnectivity with the vagus nerve going through the cranium down to the GI tract and receiving 90% of the information back to the brain, so you can imagine how the brain function can be attacked by it. This just as an overview. So that depression, as I said, anxiety, and panic attacks, and the whole, we have in clinical psychology, there are so many different types of definitions. I don't even want to touch on them, but we have to cut or stop this circle. It's a vicious cycle. If it repeats innumerable times until from the static it will become chronic, and it's very difficult when something is chronic, doesn't matter which illness it is, to reverse it. So if you take in consideration the amygdala, the hypothalamus, the afferent nervous system, endocrine system are under constant high pressure, involving in an adverse and very critical manner. Sometimes, as I said, these illnesses, we cannot reverse them back as they used to be. It's up to us. When I do a hypnosis, Most people won't like it, what I say. But anyway, I'm not a people pleaser. Fear obviously is the main source of anxiety, stress, and obviously the thinking, our thought patterns. The core or root lies in our thoughts, thought patterns, playing also until a certain extent the victim role. I said most people won't like that. Then if we go deeper, uh, low self-esteem, low self-love, self-forgiveness, self-approach or acceptance, this all activates so ominous thoughts, but nobody can think for us, no act for us. We just uh, sometimes react, but we go always back in the same circle. And it's up to us. The world out there will or wants change because of us. Everybody has been there. I mean, I have had it too. But hey, move yourself, get out of here, because otherwise you get really stuck in this sort of mechanism that you're not even aware. First of all, accept yourself. Don't judge yourself. We have all wounds. We have perhaps not been healed, but it's up to us. We have to decide how we feel. Nobody else can do it for us. If it's sometimes I have individuals, they prefer, for example, also to consume bad nutrition. Even if I tell them, please be careful, try to avoid this and this food because it is not really helping your health. So a little bit like a mirror, but it's up to the person. It's his or her responsibility. It's not mine. My duty is to make the people aware what is not good for them, what they could avoid, but it's up to them, because obviously I don't want to force anybody ever. But also their own fears, old traumas, old wounds, it's up to us to address them, look at them, and try to heal them. But the problem is that also most people have sometimes they are fearful to look at those wounds, look at the trauma, look at any sort of fear in general. So you cannot push, you just can tell, please look at yourself, accept the way that you are. Don't judge yourself, don't make yourself little. It doesn't help anybody, and the least yourself. This is just to let you understand how the mechanism works in our body. What we actually all want or seek. This is what I have been gathering during many years that I'm working with so many people, is just two little things, is love and acceptance. But first of all, you have to love yourself and you have to accept yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. You're okay the way that you are. Don't judge yourself in a negative way. Nobody's perfect. I don't know any human being that would be perfect. Perhaps only nature is perfect, our universe, our galaxy. But we are not here to be perfect. We are also not here to become perfect. We are here, in my opinion obviously, We are what we are, make the best out of it, but without making yourself sick, because at the very end of the day, it's up to you what you decide for yourself and taking responsibility for yourself. Everybody's unique. Try to do the best out of it. Thank you very much for listening, for sharing. If you have questions, comments, please in the link down below. And until the next time, stay safe, stay positive, and stay well. Goodbye for now.